Hi everyone, my name is Dr. Melissa Estavillo. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist and owner of Biltmore Psychology and Counseling. So, what a week this week. I just wanted to be able to come to you guys and say, one, I'm here with you through all of this hardship. I am probably experiencing a lot of the same emotional roller coaster as you guys. As someone that is a creature of habit and really likes to be in control of my world, this is pretty disconcerting that things are changing so quickly and are pretty overwhelming. And so I know that I've been experiencing a little bit of anxiety, and I assume that other people are experiencing anxiety. That's definitely been a topic of what we've talked about in some of our telehealth sessions that we've had. And so that prompted me to want to do this video today to be able to talk about the bigger concept of how to deal with anxiety during a pandemic. So what's so funny about this is, in general, when we do treatment for anxiety, what we typically will say is it's important for us to be able to evaluate some of our anxious thoughts and look and say, what's the evidence that that would really happen? Aaron Beck was a famous psychiatrist that talked about this idea of catastrophizing. He made up that word, basically saying that our thoughts immediately jump to the worst case scenario, to a huge catastrophe, and that drives a lot of our anxiety. And so often, rarely that's ever the case. That's not really traditionally the way the world works, is that it's a catastrophe every time. And so when we're able to catch that, identify that, adjust our thinking, then that can often reduce our anxiety. So the bigger question is, and I remember thinking this as a young graduate student, well, what happens when some of their worry is correct? What happens when some of the worries that come up really are catastrophic or are not irrational? How do we deal with anxiety then? So that's what I want to touch on today, because in many ways this pandemic is not something that any of us saw coming, is something that's quite surprising. Some of the ways that it's playing out, what it's done to the economy and to everyone's health. You look at some of the potential numbers of people that can pass away and die is quite catastrophic. And so I think it's important for us to talk about a different approach for anxiety management. I think the research that I tend to go to in these moments is one in which there's really robust fMRI studies. So fMRI is a functional MRI that looks at the structures of the brain and the parts of the brain that are actually actively being used. And it's amazing to see that when we're feeling really escalated, when our amygdala, our fear center, is really charged up, and we feel like we're alone, that tends to be a place where our amygdala becomes even more dysregulated. Our limbic system, the emotional part of our brain, really has a hard time being able to regulate and come back down. And that really tends to throw off our frontal lobes, which is the rational executive functioning of our brain. It helps us problem solve, helps us be able to make good decisions. The fascinating part for me is that when we have good social support, when we have a loved one that's by our side, maybe even physically holding our hand, I know we're not able to do that with social distancing, but someone that offers us emotional support, one that says, I'm here with you, I get it, I understand, this is really hard. That tends to be something that tends to regulate the limbic system. It brings our amygdala back down. It makes us feel safe. It makes us feel connected. It doesn't change the situation, but it changes the way we feel about it. And so this would be the thing that I would suggest to you guys. So while we are far away from those that we love, and while this is a very isolating and bewildering experience, take the opportunities that you have to reach out to those that you love. Do video calls like this to be able to connect with others. If you haven't done telehealth before, which is true for a lot of people, potentially now's the time to be able to reach out to a therapist and know that there's someone there that can understand some of the specifics of what you're going through. They can empathize and connect with that. None of that empathy is going to change what we're going through. We're still all in this, what kind of feels like disastrous situation, but knowing that we're doing it together helps us feel grounded in who we are, helps us be able to pull from our inner strength and be gritty, and helps us be able to have the best functioning frontal lobes so that we can make good decisions, so that we can see opportunities, so that we can make the most decisive actions and potentially be able to fare the storm as well as we can. So if you have questions about this, feel free to always put those in the comments below, and you can always like this video or subscribe for future content. But yeah, these are hard times, and know that, again, you're not alone as you go through all of this. So take care in the meantime and stay healthy.